USPS workers who were also Trump supporters, how do you feel about his actions? Seems like they are also busy sorting mail by hand to respond. Next time mark this as serious replies only. I have an uncle who used to be a postal worker up until he retired about a year ago. Full disclosure, he is an adamant Trump supporter. According to him, this is nothing new and they have been removing these boxes for years based on the volume of mail decreasing. I know it means nothing to you and you don't. Just asked my postal worker as he was dropping off our mail. He said he didn't want to get into it but /it's. So just a thought. Did nobody learn what happens when you push postal workers too hard? I just had an overnight package that took 10 days to get to me. For obviously something I needed right away, hence paying for overnight shipping. I just want to say this. Thank you, mail carriers. We do appreciate you because you deliver my grandma's meds when she is out and you always laugh when my dog loses her eyes at the window. Seriously, if anything this year has shown, certain careers or jobs that didn't. A former company worker of mine works for the Postal Service. Her mom has also been a lifelong mail lady. According to them, these boxes needed to be removed because the mail people can't handle the amount of votes people would be mailing in. They believe you should have to go and vote and not stress the poor postal workers. I will say she also was all about that doctor video that was taken down a few weeks ago and has a medical exception from wearing a mask. My dad, who gave 30 plus years of his life to USPS including a stint at headquarters in Washington D.C., is furious. It's blatant election rigging with a Trump ally as Postmaster General, and it's /CKing over Americans in the process. You can't gerrymander mail-in votes. I also have Facebook friend who is a mail carrier and he is pissed. He says most of our town's letter carriers are job hunting to leave their government jobs. That's how bad it is. Better question for r/Ask Trump supporters. Just an observation, but I don't see many responses from Trump supporting postal workers. Without a serious tag, this is just going to end up like comments in a r/politics thread. People don't want a discussion, they just want to spew hate. Drop boxes have been in the process of being phased out for the past 10 years or so. My dad worked for the post office for 20 years and said the post office was looking for ways to cut back on expenses. They aren't necessary anymore and they take up too much time to send all of those extra vehicles and drivers to do collections multiple times a day. Instead, people can just use their mailbox or go drop off their letters at the post office. They do keep a few here and there in busy sections of town that still have a high volume of mail when collections occur, but the ones that aren't used much are removed to shorten or combine routes. TLDR, this has nothing to do with voter suppression. This is a cost-saving method that's been going on for 10 years or so. Edit, Post Office began removing drop boxes in 2008. Edit 2, each sack of mail from each box is weighed every day. This is how they check th volume. They don't actually count every letter. European here, why do you want to vote by mail? Is it so that the sick and elderly won't get corona? Almost as happy as when my wife brings me back leftovers from her date. One thing's certain, no matter who wins, the losing side won't go quietly. It'll make the Bush-Gore storm of 2000 look like a friendly light-hearted argument. The stimulus check is in the post. Wait, it ain't sorry. Based on a conversation today with my neighborhood's carrier, I don't think you're going to find many Trump supporters at the USPS this week. Generally, mailboxes have been declining in numbers for years because nobody uses mail anymore. This year is particularly bad because of COVID-19. Same way people have a problem voting in person but not gathering around some guy's house threatening him. TBH, I don't foresee a timeline where the outcome of this election isn't contested, and probably for a lot of federal elections going forward, it's just like a thing we do now. Can someone explain what's going on with USPS? I'm not from US. Joey also is heavily invested in USPS competition, which makes all this highly suspect. I highly doubt that all of this is just coincidence. Also, astronauts who think the world is flat. What is your cognitive dissonance like? People on here are listing every other time mailboxes have been removed, while ignoring that Trump literally admitted to cutting funding to USPS in order to prevent mail-in voting. Also, they ignore that the reason the USPS was in debt was because Congress forced them to put billions aside for pensions, which no other government service does. As a former UPS and FedEx employee, I've seen firsthand how these companies have been driving the USPS out of business for decades now, and the USPS does nothing about it. If UPS doesn't deliver to an area, they will drop the package off at the nearest post office and get the postal service, for pennies on the dollar, to make the delivery for them, and the post office bends over and accepts. Every package you get delivered by the post office, they are doing at a huge loss, as UPS, FedEx and Amazon set record profits. And this isn't Trump's fault. This has been going on for 20 years. But everything bad in the world that has been going on your entire life, you now want to pin on Trump because of your delusions. That's the reality right now. And dumping billions and billions into this failing business model does nothing. It's a waste of your taxpayer money. Thank God Trump isn't bailing them out. Congress needs to make major changes to the USPS before any justification of a bailout. How many of you here would feel comfortable with your paychecks being mailed to you instead of direct deposited? 1. Actions. He is not defunding the post office. They've been removing machines from facilities and mailboxes from the streets for decades now due to changing mail volume. The new Postmaster General is cleaning house. What are these actions you speak of? Our bosses are telling us not to comment because of the political nature of the attack. Page Act, etc. I can tell you that people are not very pleased and are extremely happy with the general public's reaction. Keep it up, guys. All of my company workers that are Trump supporters are too busy criticizing Biden choosing Harris to pay attention. Boxes have been slowly taken away for years because some of them gone. The brainwashing of this issue is staggering. If Trump votes by mail yet he's taking it away is image. It's definitely a way of hijacking the elections. Babe, Redditors, USPS workers, Trump supporters, one of these is not like the other. An uncle of mine is a retired USPS letter carrier and loud and proud Trump supporter. TBH, there seems to be a lot of cognitive dissonance. He'll post about saving the USPS and how it's a right to have it, but then make another post an hour later applauding all that Trump has done against the /litterds. Facebook. I would advise you to get the other side of the story, and if you're open-minded you will think about rephrasing your question. A lot of fake news posturing going on by Pelosi and Schumer on this topic.